Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream of Pantheon. By the way, quick note, with the sound, I'm pretty sure that since this is the first time I've used Skype on this computer, that it was doing some ducking. So sorry about the sound there. I think I got it worked out for the main performance here. But yeah, should be good. So anyway, guys, hi. How are you? If you have not heard of Pantheon, Pantheon is a project I've been following for a while now. It's called Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. This is a very cool MMO that will be coming out. Well, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit today. But we have some new stuff to show you. We have some fun things to talk about. And here today, we have two special folks with us, Ben Dean and Chris Perkins from the dev team. So, Ben, why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know what's going on.
Sure. Hey, Co. Thanks for having us. This is Ben Dean, producer of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. First, Co, maybe going a little bit off track a little bit, but I just got to tell you, I love coming on this show. Like, the intros themselves just make my day. I get so hyped watching these intros. I'm ready to take on the world, man. It's awesome.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. That was actually our brand new intro. We just got that guy in the mix.
Nice.
So I appreciate it.
It's brilliant. Yeah, so today we're going to talk a little bit about Pantheon. We are going to do a bit of a general overview for people who may not have heard of it yet or only know a little bit about it. But before we get too deep into that, let me introduce the creative director and lead designer, Chris Perkins. Hey, Chris.
Hey, everybody. Chris Joppa Perkins here. Super excited to be here alongside Ben and Co. And even more excited to show and share some Pantheon. So let's get rolling.
Cool.
Sounds great.
So I see that you've already started the reel.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Huh?
I said I'm sorry I couldn't help myself. I haven't seen this yet.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good. What we're seeing here, we've just kind of put together a montage, so to speak, of various scenes, various screenshots, various artwork from Pantheon. And we would like to, sort of take your questions as we go too. There are a few things that we want to go over, but feel free to throw up some questions into the chat channel as well.
Sure.
So to sort of introduce everyone to Pantheon, if you haven't heard of it before, if you're not familiar with it, Pantheon is a crowdfunded project. It's to create a new massively multiplayer world. And when we set about this project, we asked ourselves, what's missing from today's MMOs? And when we really boiled that down, it came down to three basic concepts: cooperation, exploration, challenge. Co, you remember when reputation mattered?
Oh God, yes. Yeah, when it was everything. When you had to
Yeah.
re-roll characters if you screwed up enough.
Yeah. Well, we don't want anybody to have to re-roll, but that's what we're kind of aiming for, that challenge and bringing a community together again. So we've created Pantheon as a stage for creating these communities and friendships, possibly even rivalries. Chris, would you add anything to that? Am I missing any big points here?
I don't think so, at least not that we won't cover as we move through the rest of the content on the show. So
Okay.
let's keep on rolling.
Let's keep rolling then. Okay. So if you have been following us, you know that earlier this year we set out on something called Project Faerthale. The idea of this was to incorporate most of the systems of Pantheon, to really breathe the soul into Pantheon, to include many of its mechanics. We talked a little bit about it on our own Twitch stream 2 weeks ago. That's, for those interested, that's twitch.tv/Visionary Realms. But what we didn't do is...
I'm going to put that in chat, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yep. Sorry, please continue.
No, it's all good, man. What we didn't do in that stream, though, is we didn't show too much of Project Faerthale. So we did want to take the opportunity today with you, Co, and with your audience to show just a little bit of what we've been working on for the past few months. I don't want to say too much about it, but if you want, let's go over to the Faerthale teaser reel.
Here we go. Oh my. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, thanks. So that's just a little sneak peek of what we've been working on. Before I turn this over to Chris, I just wanted to touch base on it real quick. A couple of people did notice that we do have a new logo. Earlier this week, we started teasing out little teasers about this new logo coming, and a few people caught on, but really, it's kind of symbolic. It's symbolic of our commitment to increase our communication. So every 2 weeks from here on out, starting on Thursday the 21st, no, it's 21st, Thursday the 21st, we're going to be doing our own streams on our own channel again at twitch.tv/Visionary Realms, where we're going to be doing sort of a look at the past 2 weeks as to what's been in development. So we'll get all sorts of different devs on camera there, showing off the stuff that they've been working on, whether it be coding or a bit of artwork or a bit of the lore. But it's really to keep everybody apprised as to what's going on and to help you feel more involved in the process of making this game. But yes,
Cool.
and a few people did comment on the visual fidelity from that video. So Chris, let me turn it over to you. You've got a lot to say about that.
Oh, a lot of people in chat are asking for me to replay it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
play
Please,
it.
yeah. I'll wait to say anything until we.
Oh no, go ahead. Just do. I mean, you know what? I'll run it a couple times, so feel free to just start talking.
Cool. So, the first thing I want to highlight here is that one of our goals, if you've been following Pantheon at all, you've probably heard of Project Faerthale as being the big kind of heads down internal project we've been working on, milestone. And one of the goals when we began scoping out and working on Project Faerthale was to use this opportunity to achieve a visual standard, to reach a visual bar that we could say, yep, this is what Pantheon's going to look like at launch. And yes, while we're still in pre-alpha, we wanted to have a slice of the game that required no caveats, no qualifications, could simply stand on its own and be representative of Pantheon as a whole, visually. And so we wanted to explore and discover what that visual bar could be, and the tech that would need to be associated with it and support it, all while making sure that the game remained performant, that it's going to run well on what we consider our current min-spec machine. And so all of that to say, it's one of the many reasons why we're excited and proud to show this first glimpse into Oldwood, because of what we've been able to achieve as far as that visual bar, that visual standard that we're reaching for.
So is Faerthale kind of like a vertical slice of kind of the whole Pantheon experience, kind of everything in one place?
So yes, and I would say yes in terms of visually speaking, that's very much the case. And then as we continue forward working on Project Faerthale, the goal is to get it to the point where it can be indicative of the gameplay experience as well, including the various different game systems that not only the fundamental systems, but also the differentiating systems as well.
Cool, very cool.
The other piece that I want to speak to regarding that video and just that point on the visual bar is that it doesn't just stop there. It can't just stop there, because we want to have a world that's more than just a beautiful thing to look at. There's a point behind the quality. There's a point behind the immersiveness of the visuals. And one way to say that would be, we want Terminus, which is the name of the game world, we want Terminus to be a place that you want to be in, that inspires you to explore, and then rewards you for doing so with meaningful discovery that's fundamentally non-linear. And another way to phrase that would be, we want you to go where you feel drawn to go, because the environment's doing such a good job of drawing you there. Everywhere you look, everything you see, the environments, the objects in the environments, the denizens and creatures of those environments, all working together to draw you to all over the place. And then once it's done that, it actually unfolds its story. It unfolds real discovery. In the current era of gaming that we're in, and Ko, you know this better than most, the beautiful visuals aren't so rare anymore. there's a lot of really, really good looking games out there. And so, but when we talk about MMOs, especially, unfortunately, the way exploration and quests and story content is handled, it's so linear and so
Theme park.
hub-based.
Yep.
Theme park, yeah, that
That's
it actually
the term.
it's stealing away the power of the environment, because
It makes the environment a secondary feature because you know exactly where to go. You're always told where to go next. You have your little checklists to check off, and you don't even need to explore or look around. The game does it all for you, essentially. The entire game is a giant roadmap.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's right on and well said. It's the environment. Nothing cool really matters unless you've got a quest for it. And so we want there to be a reason to go and look behind that tree, to go and look under that bridge, or see if that Spriggan has anything to say to you, or pay close attention to the carvings on the wall or the painting in the room, because the environment is always telling a story. And the more that we can capitalize on making these visuals more than just visual, but actually drawing you to a meaningful point, a meaningful place of discovery, then you're starting to touch on what Pantheon is all about. So I'll leave it there so we can keep looking at the goodies.
And when
Sounds
you
great.
say meaningful, that's again another one of the components, is that these games, MMOs in general, the draw to them is to experience it not just alone, but with friends, to make friends, to maybe make enemies. And that's something that we're always striving to do, to find new hooks, new ways of getting people together and to communicate. And that's sort of what we wanted to do with that little teaser as well. Just the story that sort of unravels there. You see a small group in Faerthale sort of discovering something, pointing something out, saying, what's that? And then later on, we skip to what is clearly a large group running into his own.
Yeah, so can we talk about that a little bit? So what exactly are we seeing in the second part of this Faerthale video playing right now?
Well, we have talked a little bit about it in the past. It is an encounter that we're working on. It's something that's completely different than we've done before. It utilizes a lot of the mechanics that we're working on, a lot of the systems that we're working on, and we feel it showcases a good Pantheon experience. So it fits right into Project Faerthale.
That's a lot of people. How many people are running into there, out of
I think
curiosity?
we had 20 on for that shoot.
So that's a raid.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's no secret that this is
Okay,
actually a raid
okay.
encounter that we're developing,
Okay.
and one of the reasons for that is because we, as gamers ourselves, and MMO enthusiasts, we've seen so many of them launch without a whole lot of in-game content taken into consideration.
MMOs
so-
have fallen without having in-game content at launch. I'm very glad to hear you guys are thinking about this.
That's exactly right. So
Yeah.
we saw this as a great opportunity to, as we're working on fundamentals, as we're working on differentiating systems, to really follow that all the way through to the top and make sure that the raiding experience, or the multiple group, large raid group encounters, the mechanics and the overall experience there is intact. And I think we've got just a really, really fun, highly challenging encounter that we've put together. So can't wait to show more of that in the future.
If you need someone to, play a role when you show those off, I know a guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let us know.
Name's Ro Barnage.
Sounds familiar.
But yeah, just a quick reminder. But this is a crowdfunded project as well. So if what you see is interesting you, if you feel like checking out more, head on over to pantheonmmo.com. Lots of information there. You can sign up for the newsletter, and there's also various pledge packages. All of that money, every dime goes into development of the game.
PantheonMMO.com.
You got it.
Also, just
Go ahead
want to
and
say, because of some of the comments that have been made in chat, that the footage that we showed is not a cutscene. That is in-game footage, 100%. Just wanted to make that clear.
Hey guys, I'm sorry about that. For those that don't know, over just the last couple days, are we back? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Are we back? Okay, great. Okay, there we go. Yeah, real quick guys, I'm really sorry about this. The Pantheon devs have been super cool about this. Basically, I'm dealing with my streaming machine over the last couple days has developed a hard crash issue. It's going back into the shop on Saturday. but unfortunately, I'm very sorry about this. It could be, it's either temperature related or motherboard. It's a pain. But anyway, we're going to go right back into it. We were just talking about Faerthale and all the cool things having to do with that. So, guys, take it away. Let's do it.
Thanks, Co. For those who haven't heard about Pantheon, we're not going to back
Yeah.
We were talking about in-game content and making sure that we don't wait too long to consider that, because of how important it is to a launched title to have that kind of content also considered and ready to roll at launch. And so we've taken this opportunity with Project Faerthale, the work we're doing right now, to work on that side of the spectrum as well. So that's what you're seeing in the second part of that video reveal, is a little teaser. I mean, obviously we're going to have a lot more to show on that coming up, but just a little bit of a teaser as to what that area is shaping up to look like. And just to confirm that we are indeed working on a raid encounter. And I'm seeing some questions too about what kind of atmosphere, what kind of climate is going on in there. And I'll go ahead and say that it's a wind shear climate. And maybe later in the show we can talk about what that means, or on a different one. But for those of you who are in the know, it is a wind shear climate.
In the know, I like that.
This is it might be slightly off track, but I did see a question come up by Davern B, and thanks, Brass. Brass is in the channel. She works with the community as well. But Davern B asked if this is a pay-to-win game. Absolutely not. Brass's response was correct. Absolutely not. We really want to recapture that organic feel, that natural feel of MMOs, where you play the game and you enjoy the game with your friends, and not buy all of your weapons and armor with real money. All right, so what else do we have to show, Chris? Oh yeah, let's talk about some of the things that make Pantheon Pantheon. So there's lots of systems. One of the most exciting is indeed the perception system. So as we've alluded to, we don't have the classic theme park setup. We do have, but there is definitely lots of story packed into Pantheon, and that's through the perception system, which is basically a non-linear branching way of storytelling. Chris, do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure thing. So as I was saying earlier, we want the environment, kind of the code word for the perception system is environmental storytelling. And part of the conceptualization was, what would we need to do to make the environment tell the story? When you see something interesting and you go to it because you want to look at it more closely, whether it's a statue or, some tower made out of gold glimmering on a hill in the distance, whatever it is that's drawing you. Since we're not going with a quest hub type system where you go to a village, gather up all your quests, and then follow the mini map along, as Ko was saying earlier, and just kind of focus on the flashing lights and the arrows, but you're really living and in being present in the environment in real time and going where it kind of calls you to go. How would the environment kind of interact with you? And the perception system is the vehicle through which we take the incredible storytelling that we have in Pantheon, which I have to give major props to our lead writer, J.N. Gerhardt, just a brilliant narrative designer. And that's going to become more and more clear as the game develops. But we needed a system to also marry with that content and bring it to the player in that immersive way. And that's what the perception system is. Maybe we could throw up some of those images, Ko, of some of the under the hood stuff to give you guys a little better sense of the tech side of how we're making this work. But sure. Yeah, perfect. So what you're seeing here is a tool that our senior programmer, one of our senior programmers, Robert Crane, who's really been spearheading the implementation of the perception system, he's been working on. Codenamed Odin is the name of this tool, and it is a node-based narrative design tool, which it does more than narrative design. There's a lot of our NPC stuff, from placement to setting up routines and AI behaviors and things like that takes place in this tool. But what we were wanting to focus on today is the flexibility of the tool to allow us to branch different dialogue options and ultimately different outcomes and paths that can take place when you're having conversations with NPCs, or potentially prompted through different kind of mini events when you come in contact with something that has story related to it. So an example would be a statue, or those carvings on the wall I referred to earlier. There may be some kind of quote unquote conversation you could have with that thing that you're seeing, as you're thinking to yourself even, and making different decisions in your own mind, following your own intuition of what you might do with this information, or how you're going to interpret this information to actually be. And so again, not to get too far off into the weeds of the implications, but here you're seeing really the technical side under the hood. Let's go to one of the other ones that has some of the dialogue on it, and or a little bit more dialogue on it, and you can see how some of that branching. Yeah, that's a great example. I'm a little behind, I think, because I'm watching your.
Oh yeah. I'm looking at these. Like these are gigantic flowing tracks here.
Yep. And so these are. This is what we mean when we talk about meaningful discovery and also meaningful decisions. And I'll try to keep it brief, but one of the things that comes up a lot with a system like this is, what are you going to do about spoilers? So it's great to have branching storylines and that choice, but what are you going to do about spoilers? A month, 2 months, 3 months after the game's launched. And it's a little bit of an in-depth answer, but I can say relatively simply that the system of flagging, we're going to call it flagging, which is basically has to do with what race your character is, what class your character is, what level your character is, what creatures have you killed in your overall journey as a character, what NPCs have you spoken to, what items have you looted. All of those things and more function as flagging that creates kind of a unique fingerprint for your character, so that when you come across that statue that I keep referencing, let's say, it's going to what kind of options are available to you is going to depend on what kind of character you are and what kind of experiences you've had. And so while there may be certain spoilers, it's going to be really hard to track down for your specific character with your specific history and makeup what actually is going to happen when you do the thing. So again, we'll have more information about that and actually show that, we want to show these things too, and we're going to be working to show these sometime in the hopefully not so distant future. But I just wanted to put that out there because it's a very understandable concern or hesitation about really getting excited about the idea. And but so I want to just put that out there to say we're aware of that, and we're working through this kind of deep variable flag and layering to make it as unspoilerable as we can.
By the way, just wanted to interject here real quick. We have a lot of people just tuning in. This is Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. It's a new MMO coming out from Visionary Realms. You can find more information at pantheonmmo.com. Saw some people asking if I'm associated with the project. I am not. I'm actually a backer of this project, and I am a fan, just like pretty much all the people watching right now. The Pantheon devs were super cool, and we asked if I wanted to kind of, see the game with them. And that's what I've been doing. This is our, Ben, what, 4th or 5th Pantheon stream at this point? Just looking at stuff. Yeah, we've been kind of following the production of it. And this is a game, frankly, I'm really excited for. I was a big player of a game called EverQuest back in the day. And honestly, this is kind of like the next game I've kind of been looking forward to of its type. Even though we've had so many MMOs release over the years, none of them have really kind of captured that spirit and that feeling of kind of community playing like that did. And honestly, this may be kind of the next one. So it's one I'm very excited for. And just like you guys, I'm just here as a fan, kind of enjoying this as well. So I'm sorry, please continue there.
Well, we're big fans of yours too, Co. I remember when you first reached out to us, it was awesome. It's like, sweet, CohhCarnage is a fan. So no, we really appreciate you inviting us on as well.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I did see a question pop up though a little bit earlier about challenge too. Is the game going to be challenging? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. There's lots of room to make things challenging, because we think, again, this is a community building game, and it's much easier to build a community if you need friends.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, do we so we talked about the perception system bit.
Yeah,
Chris, have anything else on there?
Welcome.
Well, just to transition into the next thing we wanted to show, we're kind of continuing on with this theme of the perception system, and super excited to now show a little bit of there's the tool side of that system, kind of the under the hood, which we've been looking at in the node graphs, but then there's also the player facing side of the system, and one of the really key components in anything player facing is the user interface and how these systems present themselves to the player. So if you've been following our development, you may remember a stream we did in the past where our lead concept artist, Jared Pullen, was on there, and we were talking about the making of a city. We were talking about Throne Fest, and man, the feedback we got after listening to Jared, I mean, the guy gushes passion. It absolutely loves,
Oozes passion.
What he does. Oozes, gushes
Love
at the
it,
same
dude.
time. And he loves the lore of our game, and he takes it so seriously and has so much passion when it comes to creating the concept art, which, I mean, just drives everything that we do visually. The lore in first place, and then the concept faithfully representing the lore visually, and then of course everything else flowing from there as to what actually makes it into the game world. So we've got a really special video that Jared put together of him working on the UI art for the perception system, and talking a little bit about how just the journey of starting off and where it's gotten. So let's go ahead and roll that.
Just really quickly before we play that, this
Sure.
upcoming video, it's the kind of content that we'll be showing every 2 weeks on twitch.tv/Visionary Realms.
Yes,
Let's
and
take a
also
look.
a lot of people have been asking me personally, like, "Hey, Co, when's the next Pantheon stream? When's the next Pantheon stream?" Pretty much the second I'm done with a Pantheon stream for the following weeks to months. So one of the big things that these guys are going to be doing is, Ben, did you say every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks, every Thursday
Every-
at 6 o'clock Pacific. Yeah.
Every 2 weeks, they're going to start doing dev streams, kind of like how we do on this channel, to give you constant, frequent updates in this game. I can tell you I will be watching those VODs if I'm not streaming at the time. So if you are one of the people that wanted updates for this game, especially if you've been following it here on my channel, make sure you're following the Visionary Realms channel. Thank you, Shock ASU, for linking that. And that is going to be the place to be. I hopefully will still have some chances to show you some Pantheon stuff as we move forward. But
yeah.
that's going to be kind of the hub that they're going to be working out of. So yeah, be sure to check that out. All
All right.
right.
It starts Thursday, the 21st at 6 o'clock Pacific.
Cool. Ben, you ready for me to drop into the video?
Let's check out Jared's video.
Let's do it.
Welcome, my VR family and friends and fans of this wonderful game that we're making. Well, it's about time I got in here and had a good chat to you guys, and I've been charged with the wonderful job of talking a little bit about what I do. But even though I'm a concept artist, I am not talking today about concept art, but rather an entirely different beast altogether. So I am going to be talking about our user interface, and more specifically our perception system. So now, being a concept artist and coming from that background, it's I've been able to draw and drag in a lot of my abilities from concept art and apply them to the look and feel of the user interface. And so far, have been up to my eyeballs in all manner of user interface bits and bobs and little elements, and just helping to develop around a central design idea, develop the look and feel for the UI. Specifically, the perception system is what we're going to be talking about. So if I can just unburden myself here a little bit and just get rid of a little bit of this, layering in here, you can see there's just so many layers. And this is more or less a history of the development of the UI and just looking at different aspects of the UI and the certain elements. And we went down many roads around a central design theme to bring the user interface in general for Pantheon to you guys. So we'll just keep digging. We keep digging, keep looking in here. You can see here, these are the masks I've used in Unity to actually bring together these perception auras, which you'll see later on when we actually do dive into Unity. But yeah, it's been a wonderful foray into developing the look and feel. I'll just unburden a few more bits and pieces here and just have a look around what we've got here and just check things out a little bit. So you can see here, there's a little bit of development on the UI front here, looking at different elements, how we might best understand how we're studying something. So it's like a progress bar when you're reading or when you're listening, but all this is old news. So you're getting a little insight into the history of our perception system in terms of how it's been presented in the UI. And you're also getting a little insight into, and insight's probably a good word, into what our actual mechanism for perception is when you see Project Faerthale demo coming to you shortly. This is the Sightstone. And it's a wonderful little archaic and arcane device that gives perception. So yeah, it's really coming together here. These are some of the really old elements here, but I digress. I'd really like to show you a little bit more about what's actually going on in Unity. But before I do that...
Oh, it's a giant gas bag!
Oh my god, dude, seriously?
Shoot! Get out of me, get out of here!
Oh my goodness! How did that thing get in here? It's always following me around. Anyway, never mind. Forget about
That
him.
was so loud.
Let's just keep doing what we were trying to do originally. Okay, I'm calm now. So, this is our perception system as presented in Unity. And the big thing about this was just dealing with how to convey an intangible thought in a tangible way, because thought is fleeting, it's an impulse, it's a moment in time, and that's what we're really trying to grasp with perception. So you can see here is our perception window or our perception portal, and essentially these things will pop in, and we're still dialing in the effects and how these actually work, but it works like the old scroll that you're so accustomed to seeing in previous builds. But it opens up, and it's this sort of beautiful, shimmering, intangible tendrils of thought that give you the impression of the perception ping when it comes up. So we'll just zoom in a little bit here, and I'll just show you these perception auras that I've been working on in conjunction with Rob and
cool.
Bruno, both very talented in their own right. They've really supported me on the technical front and really supported to bring the intangible into the tangible. So some beautiful shaders here that I've been able to use from their hands, so very thankful. But you can see here it's moving in the background, but it's important to have a fixed element for UI, because if it's fleeting and it's shifting and it's moving around, it can be a real big distraction, and we don't want that. There's a real artful blend and harmony between presenting information whilst not distracting the end user, the player, and that's you guys. So with your comfort in mind, we have endeavored to create a user interface system specifically for the perception system around that particular idea. So starting with a solid design spec, which goes a long way, a central idea and focus around which to build this particular function. But it's a blend, as I was saying before, it's a blend, and a harmonious blend at that, between the invisible aspect of UI. So I'd say that a harmony between being visible and also invisible is critical to UI. And the other thing is, it's all about function. So you want it to read well, you want it to work, but you also want it to be beautiful without being distracting. So to that end, that's what we've come up with here, and I'll just give you a little insight into how we're working on this perception aura, which using the pre-multiply alpha blending in the shader will work over dark backgrounds, will work over backgrounds as white as snow, and everything ranging in between. So it's been a real complete foray into working out how this works, and Rob and Bruno have been instrumental in bringing this to us too. So it's quite a marvelous thing. But yeah, we're really coming along. Not only do we have the perception side of things in the UI, we also have the standard dialogue window as well, which is minus this perception aura. But yeah, it's you can see what we've been working on, and it's coming along, and yeah, getting there. Wait a minute. Did you guys hear that?
Not
I
again.
heard it. Oh, it's down.
Yes, it's found me! It has! It's found me! Oh, help me,
David, Ben, I've got to get out of here,
Okay. I tried to lower it as fast as I could.
That really
Wow.
happened to him, by the way.
Yeah,
I believe it.
pretty
constant
sad.
problem.
So is that the kind of stuff that we can expect to see on the the bi-weekly streams?
Yes, that's exactly the kind of stuff. I love that everybody's calling him the Bob Ross of game.
Oh,
game
he is.
design.
He
It's
is.
pretty- yeah. But yeah, that's the kind of content that you'll see every 2 weeks. Just to give you a bit more insight as to what's going on, how things are made. You know, real behind the scenes stuff.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Were there any questions, Code, that you had about what was presented there? I was thinking, I don't know if you want to brave the gas bat thing again, but if there's a way to bring up that last shot where you see the perception dialogue window and what he was referring to as the basic dialogue window, there was a clarification that I could make there
Welcome,
that some people might find interesting.
Welcome,
Sure.
my,
Give me just one
my
second.
VR family
Yep.
of this wonderful game that we're
Oh, Lord.
making.
1 sec.
Well, it's about time I got
turn
in
that
here and
off.
had a good chat to you guys.
There it is.
This guy here?
Yep, that's the one.
Cool.
Or actually, no, I'm sorry. Again, I'm looking at a
little bit of a
so-
delay. Yeah.
Yeah. Apologies. But the one that has the two little dialogue windows.
Got that up right now.
Perfect. So the one on the left, that is our perception system dialogue. So that is, if you think of the perception system like you would think of crafting. When you start a character, you are not a crafter. You choose to craft. You choose to become a tradesperson. In the same way, you choose to become part of the perception system, and when you do so, you become known as a keeper. So a crafter is a crafter, and a keeper is somebody who has initiated the perception system and is developing that side of their character. Now, when you become a keeper, you gain the skills related to the perception system, which include the insight and the investigate skill. I'm not going to go too deep into those. The insight skill is passive. It affects what kind of things you will notice in the environment around you. And then the investigate skill is active, where similar to, you think of like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, you walk into a new area and you tell the DM, I want to explore the room. I want to study the room. That's kind of what investigate is like. And so the higher investigate skill, the higher chance you have to notice something interesting in your environment. But what it also does is it creates these opportunities for storylines. And if you look at the dialogue window on the right, that's what the basic player will see, whether you're a keeper or not. When you talk to NPCs that have a basic quest for you or just have something they want to say, that's the basic dialogue window you'll see. When you're a keeper, you're going to be able to initiate storylines. And storylines are different from basic quests. Storylines are the perception system specific quests. And that's where that special UI on the left will come into play. That's something that only a keeper will see. The branching dialogue is something that the keepers will be able to experience. And it's going to provide players with a chance to do amazingly deep dives into the lore and story of the game, past, present, and future. So I just wanted to make that distinction. And like I said, we'll have a lot more to say, specifics, and in the future.
Very cool. Great stuff.
So I think we have a couple time for a couple more questions, and
Excellent. So I have a question for you.
Sure.
It's one that you get a lot, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Hey Ben, when can I play this game?
Yeah, well, you do ask that. We do get that question asked a lot, and there's always questions about dates for alpha, for pre-alpha, for beta, for launch. The answer is, not to prolong it, the answer is I can't give you a date just yet, but I did want to sort of explain how Visionary Realms works. So we are a very small team, of committed, very talented developers, as you can see through the artwork that we've shown today. We're not a studio of 200 developers like you see in some other games, and we are crowdfunded. So what that means is that as a core crowdfunded team, we continue with development. When we see a surge in crowdfunding, what that does is it allows us to bring on more contractors to accelerate the pace at which we're making the game. So that's really kind of the only reason we can't give a date, because we can't predict what crowdfunding is going to do, a few months from now. If it swells, then we bring on more developers. If it doesn't, then we continue on the pace that we're at. So that's kind of how the Visionary Realms works with Pantheon.
Cool. Good to know. Good to know.
And if you are interested in helping it along, visit pantheonmmo.com and hit on that pledge button. Well, don't hit on the pledge button. Hit the pledge button.
I definitely hear you there.
I think that's all we've got, Co. Again, thanks for having us, man. These shows are always awesome. This is a little bit different. Man. Normally we show some gameplay, and once we have a bit more ready in Faerthale, we'll definitely be knocking on your door.
That is a day that I am anxiously awaiting. I can't wait. I know you guys have been pretty hard at work on Faerthale for a long time, and I have a feeling that's going to be kind of the first time we can really see the game with as much of the end game vision as we're going to get, probably into a release. So I think I speak for many when I say that we're extremely excited to actually be able to experience Faerthale and kind of see what you guys are bringing us. It's going to be good.
We're very excited to show it too. We are all really pumped to be able to just show this even. We can't wait till you see the rest of it. It's going to be awesome. Going to be awesome.
Very cool.
Did we want to take a couple of quick questions?
Sure.
Yeah, I saw one here real quick for you that I'm actually kind of wondering as well. So how does perception work if you're in a group? If one person is as high perception, does everyone benefit?
Everyone can benefit if there is someone in the group who is a high enough perception skill, then other keepers will be able to benefit to a degree. Now you're not going to be able to basically put a max level. Perception will most likely have levels to it as well. Just a bit of an aside real quick, but really like the idea of there being levels and essentially titles associated with how high your perception skill is, so that you have, kind of a badge, almost like some bragging rights when you've maxed that path of character development out. And so if you've got, let's say a visionary or, a sage or whatever, like the max level keeper might be, you're not going to be able to just drop them in your group and then allow, younger keepers to hop, skip, and jump over everything. So, but that being said, there's also the issue of wanting groups to be able to do quest and story content together. So all I can say is, when it comes to the perception system and storylines, we want, as part of the nonlinear approach, we want you to be able to feel like there's plenty of on-ramps and off-ramps and ability to kind of freely flow in and out of different storylines, which is kind of how we're developing the system. But we're also going to be putting checks and things in place to make sure that you can't exploit someone's higher level perception skill to bypass things you shouldn't be bypassing. So whether that means that you have to be within a certain range of the other person in skill level or perception level, that could be one way we address that. Whether it means that by whatever means you need to be flagged in the same kind of ways as the other person, that may be one way to address it. because we can make those flags varyingly difficult to achieve, depending on, the level of content you need to explore, or enemies you need to defeat, items you need to be able to have acquired. So there's a couple of different pieces in place to keep it from being trivialized.
Very cool. Very cool. Couple quick accessibility questions. First, will the game be translated into other languages for our friends that don't speak English as a main language? And 2, will the game feature controller support for people that may have trouble with a mouse and keyboard?
So for localization, we're looking into that possibility. I got to tell you that we do get a lot of localization companies very interested in working with us. Right now, we have not moved too far down that path, but it is something that we will be looking at in the future.
Very cool. So another quick question about the perception system. What happens if a player chooses not to be a keeper? Are there going to be benefits with there, or cons, pros for being and not being a keeper?
So, yes, there are going to be benefits to being a keeper. And again, the easiest way to answer this, I always go back to crafting. So, obviously, there are benefits to being a crafter, depending on what path you choose, what trade skill you focus on. Not only are you going to be able to create items for yourself, but you're also going to be able to create a vast array of items for other players. You're going to be able to make money and, in some cases provide not only just armor and weapons, but things that are more incidental, or things that make exploration or travel or whatever it may be easier for other people. So in that sense, you could say, in the same way that a crafter has advantages for becoming a crafter and investing that time and effort, a keeper, yes, will have certain advantages for becoming one and investing the time and effort to develop that side. Now, the important note, though, is that we're being very careful not to introduce ways of gaining like an unbalanced gameplay advantage, or putting content that is what we would think of as primary content behind a perception locked door kind of thing. We don't want perception to necessarily function as a gate to the common player who's not a keeper to be able to get through it. But again, in the same way, let's say like you need a crafter to create some kind of master crafter to create some kind of crazy key that you have to be able to unlock this door. That's different, because as a guild, for example, you could pull money and resources together to be able to afford such a thing, but you don't have to have that crafter present with you to be able to reach the content. In the same way, potentially, there may be certain things that keepers are capable of generating and granting other players that don't require them to be present, but are still a way for them to use their skills and abilities to put items into the player economy, as it were, whether it's financial or more of the gameplay economy that players could depend on to some degree. Bottom line is, we're watching it, and it's something, as we get further into alpha and beta, we'll work to make sure that both those spheres, crafting and perception, feel like a fundamentally bettering layer to the overall gameplay experience, and don't provide unbalanced benefits, and don't gate content progression for the other players who choose not to partake in those systems.
Cool. And Ben, I'm sorry, I think I cut you off there before the controller support part.
Yeah, I can't give a definitive yes or no. What I can say, though, is that it's something that personally interests me, and it has come up. Right now, we haven't incorporated it, no. But I think in 2019 it's important to have.
Sounds good. By the way, for a lot of people saying in chat that you can't play the game solo, one thing about these games that's important to mention is you definitely can play the game as just you by yourself. But a big part of this game is meeting other people in game, forming up groups, meeting new people, and actually socializing inside the game. That's what I would do pretty much all the time back in EQ. You come to a zone by yourself, you don't have any friends with you, you start shouting in the public channels, hey, I'm looking for a group. You join a group of random people you've never met, you get to know them, maybe you friend a couple of them, so the next time you're in that group, you notice names in the chat. It's the kind of thing where you don't need to go in with a group, you don't even need friends. And I know it's scary to socialize, I see that in chat, I know it's scary, but at the same time, you can have great interactions, meaningful relationships. Everyone you talk to in the game, you know you have this big commonality with, because you're all playing the same game, you're experiencing the same world. So it's not quite the same to say you can't play the game solo. You can definitely go in solo, but it is a more social oriented game. So something to think about there for sure.
Yeah,
That's
well
a really
said.
good summary, Co. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you spoke to that. I mean, you could say that Pantheon's a solo-friendly game in the sense that we don't do anything to penalize soloing or even discourage soloing arbitrarily. It's really just comes down to the nature of the content that you're faced with in any given area. If you can figure out a way to solo it, then please, that's great. But the key is the game is being designed with the kind of challenge that will, in many cases, at least encourage players to band together to some degree to overcome those challenges.
And it's kind of funny, like Mika does stuff, says MMOs are all about community. I don't know why people are so scared to interact with people in an MMO. I'll give you a reason why, Mika. The theme park MMOs that have been coming out over the last 2 decades, they've basically been solo experiences inside of social settings. So a lot of people are used to these games that you can just go in, talk to somebody, do that quest, talk to somebody else, do that quest. The only time you ever have to group is if you do dungeons, and you don't have to do those. So you can play the entire game as a single player experience, even though you're playing, by definition, a massively multiplayer online game. So a lot of people have kind of changed the perspective of that. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited for this game. And I love old school games like EverQuest, because you couldn't really do that. It was much more about living in that world and dealing with all the people that come with it, instead of putting on blinders and just going quest to quest until you get to end game, and then, you know, like, which is basically what a lot of games are these days. So yeah, it's that stuff that is the reason I'm excited for games just like this.
Let's sort of bring that theme park back. I'll just use it in sort of an example. But when you go to a theme park, you can go alone, you can enjoy the rides, you'll have fun on the rides. But aren't theme parks so much more fun when you go with friends? I mean, you're typically there with hundreds of other people, but it's a lot more fun when you're there with friends and not just strangers that you're jumping on a ride with for 5 minutes.
And the good thing about Pantheon is you can enter the world, and just like any social MMO, you can enter the world by yourself, and it's surprisingly easy to make friends in these games.
Yeah.
If you're a decent person and you're friendly, you will start making lots of friends in games like this. If you know how to play your class, people will friend you and they will contact you when they need their class in your groups. Like, it's much more social because you're all experiencing the same thing together. So, but especially, I'll tell you this right now, if this is anything like old school MMOs, you get good at being your class, you become reliable, you start, you know, showing you know what to do, people will start reaching out and bringing you in, especially as you get towards end game, when you start doing raiding, high-end grouping. People will start seeking you out if you're just a decent person. And I think pretty much most of the folks that played old games can attest to that as well.
I remember sitting in a zone playing. I was relatively low level, and someone pointed out that someone was shouting in the zone, and they're like, oh, that guy just earned all of this new loot. You know, he's the only person on the server that has all this loot. And he became a celebrity in and of himself, because he was a good player, he was friendly, but he was also, you know, he was also with the right people and worked to get the top end stuff. So
oh, absolutely. I remember 2 decades ago hanging out in a zone called North Freeport, and the first time that I saw somebody stroll in with 2 short swords of the Akesha, oh man, like literally it was like a crowd formed around him. Like that kind of stuff was amazing. And at that point, you know, it's not about min-maxing. It's not about, you know, just making sure your stats are the best. It was literally like you were standing outside, something cool happened, and a crowd of people started forming around it. So yeah, it was amazing. I mean, 20 years later, I can't tell you what happened last week, but I can tell you the name of that person. His name was CohhCarnage. That was his name. And it's like, and that was 20 years ago for me. And again, I have a terrible memory, but
He's
it was
probably
just
watching
that
the
cool of an
stream and
experience. Yeah, I know, right? No, that'd be fun.
remembers-
But it was the kind of thing where it was like, you know, once that kind of stuff happens, you actually get a real reputation with real people. You know, guilds become like these large, like, covens of people that, you know, if they have that guild tag under their name, that there's something kind of respectable about it. Like, yeah, that's the dragon that I'm chasing with these MMOs. Like, so I want that feeling back in our current state of MMOs, instead of just like all this kind of whatever it is now.
Yeah, we do too. We do too.
And that's exactly what we're doing with Pantheon, is we're looking for every opportunity to create moments, memorable moments. That's what it's all about. Ko, thanks so much again for having us, man. This was a fun stream.
My pleasure. Yeah, this was really cool. And I really want to thank you guys for being here. Again, this was Chris Perkins and Ben Dean of Visionary Realms. As a quick couple of reminders, if you want more details on this project, pantheonmmo.com. A great resource for this. Also, as another reminder, make sure you're following the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Visionary Realms, all one word. If the mods could pop that in chat. Thank you, Shock ASU again. They are going to start doing bi-weekly updates. So I know a lot of you guys are kind of like, I gave money to this project, I want to play it right now, I want updates all the time. Well, they heard you. So moving forward on that Twitch channel, they will show you exactly where the money is going to, exactly what's being produced. They're going to have people that are actually making that stuff on there so you can watch them do it. And I can almost promise you, as soon as a date is available, which they know everybody wants right now, it will most likely be on those streams. So twitch.tv/Visionary Realms. And of course, anytime there's more big stuff to show you, I will be beating their door down for an opportunity to show it to you. So, yeah.
The door will be open, sir.
Well, Ben and Chris, any parting words before we wrap up here?
I think you summarized it well, Ko. Again, thank you, and thank you to all of the audience who's come and watched as well. We really appreciate you coming out.
Oh, I'm sorry. We may have just hug of death your website. Apologies.
No.
It'll be back up shortly.
Molad's probably in there right now trying to.
He's being resuscitated, I think. Yeah, thanks everyone. Last parting words would just be thank you so much, and it's a joy for us to be able to come and show what we've been working on, especially to the Pantheon community who have been waiting patiently. It's so exciting for us to be able to start showing you the fruit of the labor that we've been working on so intensely. So much more to come. Thank you all for being so awesome and so supportive and excited. Your energy really, really does matter to us. The passion is real. The feels are real. And Ko, as always, man, this is one of my favorite things that I get to do personally. And I know the team listening in and right now feels the same. So thanks for all that you do. Thanks for your passion, and hope to be back with you soon.
It is seriously my pleasure. I can't wait for the day when I'm logging into the first time of this game live on stream. It's something I think about frequently. So thank you guys for all your work. Quick reminder before I go, as you guys know, I'm a variety streamer. I play tons of different games, but there are some phenomenal streamers that pretty much focus on Pantheon. There's some streamers that are basically doing like weekly Pantheon get-togethers. They're having panels. They're having discussions. I can tell you right now, there's a guy that's been retweeting a lot of our stuff, Basgrim TV. He's a great resource for this stuff. So while I am off doing my variety thing all over the gaming world, there are people that kind of keep focused on this stuff. So make sure to check the directory, throw some follows to some new people. And yeah, hopefully the next time we're on here, we can show you some cool gameplay of anything new. Also, I saw a lot of people in chat that were just seeing this project for the first time. They were asking about gameplay. Check the Pantheon and the Visionary Realms YouTube. I personally have done gameplay in this game. We have done dungeon crawls. We've looked over overland zones. It's a lot earlier stuff. It's not Faerthale, which is their big project coming out. But there is gameplay out there. Make sure to check it out if you want to see what it's like. And yeah, pretty awesome. So Ben, Chris, thank you guys again for being here.
Thanks, Ko.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
It's been great. All right, guys, I will talk to you both later. Everyone here, I want to thank you guys again for coming out. These streams are so much fun to do. I love, as a fan, being able to jump in and do this stuff with you. Next time, I don't know when that will be, of course, but I will probably be weekly to daily, as I normally am, asking them for more stuff and more things to do. As they are getting closer to the end of Project Faerthale, hopefully we'll be able to do maybe some demos and runs through that area, see how it is. And yeah, should be a lot of fun. So on that note, dudes, I am out of here for now. I want to give a big thanks to Ben, Chris, and all the people of Visionary Realms. Brass, I saw you in chat. Thank you so much for answering questions and keeping that going. Again, as a reminder, make sure to click that little Pantheon Rise of the Fallen name right under the title of my stream. You can see other people that have been involved with the project on Twitch. Make sure to toss them a follow. And on that note, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are around the globe. Have an excellent rest of your day. Turkeys, thank you for that 75 months, dude. And I will see all of you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. EDT for our very first look at Death Stranding. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.